Hey everybody, it's Bust. Battles with Bust number 490, and today we're doing battle with Evelynn Viego. And so, what a wild time. What a great time to be alive. Bust actually coming out here and playing a Viego deck. And so, as the Runeterra Open approaches and decks like Scouts start to rise to the top, it's got me kind of interested in the sense that some of the decks in the past that we always hated playing, right? We're always out here playing decks like Scouts and Pirates and stuff, and running up against decks like Viego was always a problem. And so, as the Gregory the Grey Mastering Runeterra event hit yesterday, you started to really see a lot of Scouts push to the top of the meta. I start to think in the back of my head, hey, I remember all of those decks that we used to hate to play against. Maybe we could see if something like that could resurface as well and potentially have a little bit of success in this format. It was also kind of interesting to see, I believe Kaido posted the percentage of factions across all of the decks that were played. And I feel like there was like 2 decks that played Shadow Isles. And so you have to kind of maybe admit at some point that this is probably just not a very good deck. I'm no great mind, and if none of the other great minds out there haven't really pieced it together, then maybe it's just not a thing. But I still want to come out here and give it a chance, give it a shot, as this is a deck that does, still have a fairly high power level to it. If you aren't really kind of gunning to deal with this style of deck, then it can definitely catch you off guard. And so this particular version that we're playing here today, it has all of the Viego cards attached to it. So it has the Viego, the Invasive Hydrovines, and the Camaveran Soldiers to generate that late game power that comes from the Encroaching Mists. And then the other half of the unit package is really tied together based on Evelynn. I would, in this space, also say we're just playing the good Evelynn cards with just Solter and Domination along with Hate Spike. I do have to, kind of come out and make concessions like the new card Eris. It's just too expensive. You can't be playing 2-cost 1/1 elusive units in a format full of 1-cost elusive units. It just doesn't work. And things like Steam just strike me as not really being able to provide strength in this meta. You're playing your 2 health 4-drop that's going to die to Mystic Shot to hopefully trade with a 0-cost unit from the Janna deck. And so it's like I don't have high hopes for those, but I think this core of Sulter, Domination, and Hate Spike have some potential for strength. The remainder of the removal package is what really needs this deck to work right? We're playing this 3-copy of Quietus, 3-copy of Soul Harvest, 2-copy of Eradication. It's very easy for opposing decks to get around our removal suite, right? If you're playing against a deck like Ash LeBlanc, then you're just going to be playing 8 cards in your deck that probably absolutely do nothing. And so you are really looking to specifically hit kind of a few key decks. So things like Scouts, where all of the units are quite small, you're able to deal with things there. Things like Janna Nilah, you should be able to remove all of their units here. Things like Jax Ornn, while not spectacular since they typically have a big equipped unit, you can start to pop their equipments off with Quietus and maybe spike a Jax with the Soul Harvest, so they aren't completely dead there. But the last thing I kind of want to call out with this is it does have a lot of kind of extremely polarized matchups, right? In the sense that it's very real chance you play against Ash LeBlanc and you just can't kill any of their units and you have all of these dead cards. And so keep that in mind as if, this is something you're looking to take to the ladder. You're going to have some of those matchups that just feel like you can't win. And then some of those matchups should feel a lot smoother down the road. And so that's it. That's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. But before the battles begin, we got to come out and pay the pay-to-win price. And I didn't stop and talk about the Spectral Surveyor within the deck portion because I knew he was the one that we were going to come out and turn premium. And I'm kind of interested in him in this deck. I think he's one of the guys that have kind of slipped through the cracks in the sense that, he's quite strong with the husks. And the Spectral Surveyor is a card that to me should have like a very high power level with all of the unit boosting in Targon and the things like husks coming out of Shadow Isles, or even just say like the +2/+2 equipment in Shadow Isles. You should be able to find some very reasonable ways to make the Spectral Surveyor like a 4/4 or a 5/5 lifesteal. And there's just a lot of decks that can't actually beat that. And then on top of that, you have the various the spells that come out of him. You can blow up your opponent's temple, you can blow up their equipment, you can quicksand down a big Varus or something. Like he has a whole lot of utility, and it's kind of unfortunate for him to fall within this kind of Warden of the Tribes meta where he hasn't been able to shine, because I feel like if he really came into existence like 2 patches ago, he would be literally all over the place. But nonetheless, he's getting turned premium. Maybe he will have his time to shine in a future set, and we will be able to take advantage of him there in his premium state as well. The other thing I noted is if we end up bringing this to the open, this is a double Soul Fighter skin kind of deck. I would be kind of interested in loading up this Soul Fighter Viego if we could get it, but we'll have to see how I feel in terms of the open coming around and playing a bunch of decks like this. And so you never know. You never know. But ooh, man, I used to hate these so much. So back in the day, there's been really kind of 2 iterations on Viego that made their way through the game. There was the Evelynn Viego, like we're playing here. The thing that this deck doesn't have that it used to have access to is Atrocity, right? And so you could get into a lot of these games to where you can't really close out on board, but you have a 10-10 encroaching mists that you just throw at the opposing face. It really hurts not having it, but that's been a downside. Then there were the mono Viego Shurima decks that were looking to use the 0 cost draw champion spell, along with some of the cheaper cultists like Forsaken Bakai that we saw here, and then the dude that generates the 5 attack ephemeral thing. I looked at the Shurima stuff. I'm very interested in playing Quicksands in this format, but I couldn't bring myself to really get excited about those cards running around. All right, but let's focus in on the match at hand up against Aatrox Kayn. Reasonable start. We can trade with the smaller cultist here. He's going to be 1 cultist away from getting his Kayn drawn in hand, but we should start to be able to present some fairly scary units at him. I'm kind of curious if we can't pick up one of our calling strikes or something to deal with him before he turns up. Alright, so this should be a safe combat here. If he has the 1 mana combat trick, he can get into combat and not die, but he can't come in and win it since our unit has quick attack. Now we'll be able to roll into this next turn. We can pretty quickly make the big Bark Beast. We didn't talk about Bark Beast, but this is one of the stronger cards against scouts, given that it will let you get a 3/4 down for 1 mana. It's not going to come down now, especially since we just picked up Evelynn, but he's definitely one of the very stat-efficient things that you can do. Since killing off the Husk counts as a dead unit, if you have a Husk on the board and you play the Bark Beast, it gets the +2/+2 from seeing the unit die, and then it gets the Husk stats attached to him as well. Interesting. Just bringing it, huh? And so, I mean, I guess we can get Evelynn involved here. It's a bit suspicious seeing this attack come in, right? I think if he has double combat trick to take down Evelynn, I'm fine with it. And then if his other angle is to try and make a 4 mana strike into Evelynn later, that's just a ton of mana to invest into this unit. I feel pretty okay about all of that nonsense. Ooh, we picked up Challenger as well. I think we definitely want to get this big Bark Beast going. It's gonna be a 5/5 Challenger tough. Say what up, Kayn. I'm ready to I'm ready to party. Also puts that tough over onto Evelynn for the turn, so as the opponent's board stands, none of these units can strike her down. Let's just get it all going, am I right?
Impress me. I love it when they scream.
So I think we just want to leave these cultists back, right? Just get this giant strike in. We can do a little bit of blocking next turn. We still have some hate spikes that we can come down and cast this turn if we want. This all looks pretty safe to me. There's the strike card. Let's just go for the killing blow now.
never been flayed. Don't waste my time.
It's been a while since I've got to play this this keyword roulette. Head out to the keyword casino and see what turns up. And some of my testing I was doing yesterday, I kept playing against elusives and spiking the elusive husk. It's just like, LOL, I'm so good at this game. Why didn't anyone think to do this? So how scared are we of this Kayn? We do have the last caress. It's just like with this turn, say like we last caress Kayn, and then he has the spell shield thing. Like, can he even still win the game? Excuse me. Like coming in and attacking. I don't know. I don't think that's a big deal. Let's just get Viego on the board. If we lose our Evelynn this turn, it can be kind of whatever. We're about to switch over into the Hydravine mode anyways.
Don't waste my time.
All right, victory unlocked, victory achieved. Good job, team. Got a V notched under the belt. Ooh, how's your all's day been? I don't know what you did today, but I bought some grass, not weed. You know. do the kids even call weed grass anymore? I don't think anyone's called weed grass since like 1981. But you know, it's just that part of adulting. You know, sometimes you got to go out and you got to buy some grass, get that lawn up to snuff for the next year. Fucking old people problems, am I right? That's what I did. I had to do a little research, you know. As everyone says, you got to go do your research. You got to pull up the Facebook, do some research, figured out what kind of grass best grows in Kansas City. These are these are the ways you spend your day when you get old. Looking for the appropriate grass for your local area. Heat resistant, low maintenance. Keywords to look for. Alright, but let's let this continue on. Reasonable enough curve here. We can look to attack down one of these units with either Soul Harvest or Hate Spike. I'm not, really compelled to try and take down the Buru Cultist, but now that he's made the investment, I'm happy to take this thing off the board. Just get that big tempo swing here. It's very tough for him to have another 1-drop and equip the spear and do something relevant, and so I like that gets a nice curve into the domination into Evelynn.
I should stamp you out like the insect you are.
All right, give me them stats. Got to get some of those siren songs going or something. Do you all remember Siren Song? Someone decided it should cost 4 mana. What a nonsense meta that was. I didn't think it was that bad. I've actually thought quite a bit about the Aatrox Bilgewater decks in this format, to where you have the 1-drop stacked with the Bilgewater Landmark for the 1-drops and Aatrox and a bunch of equipment. I really, really like that deck in the sense that it's so good early and late. Like, just having all of these really cheap plays gives you a lot of aggressive draws. And then being in the spots to where you get to play those Darken equipment in the late game. Like, you don't get that much reach coming out of a lot of the real kind of aggro-based decks in the world. But with the kind of state of landmark destruction, I'm afraid to play decks that are really kind of intent on the landmark working, since there's just so much access to explorers and stuff now. Ooh, Spell Shield. Give me a little Spell Shield Viego along with a Spell Shield Evelynn next turn. That sounds pretty cool to me. We could just open here, but it's a bit of a pain point if he has the Frostbite spell, and he's just like really trying to dig himself out of this hole at this point. I don't think we have to try and rush in. So we'll just get the big boys on board, collect another victory against Aatrox Kayn, move on to the next one. But this is what really kind of interests me in terms of playing Viego in best of 3. Like I've started to talk more and more about this kind of concept, to where a lot of best of 3 formats feel like you're really trying to devolve into banning out one deck, being okay against another deck, you know. And so in this format, the top 2 decks, say you just want to ban out Nilah Janna, you want to be strong against Darius Gnar, and that's what you kind of like build your lineups against. And then you're kind of hoping that your lineup is just good enough across the board that when you play against FTP Bust, having this just completely random bullshit lineup, that you don't just get knocked out of the park, right? But I've been kind of more like thinking about this space in terms of, you know, if we're still just gonna ban Janna, right? I don't want to have to play this. We can play against it if that's the way, you know, the breaks kind of come at us. But I don't really want to play against Janna. But we are good against just an absolute ton of the third decks, right? So you're seeing a lot of decks play things like Aatrox Kayn. We're really good against Jax Ornn, really good against a lot of those spaces. And so I am, you know, legitimately interested in the things that this deck is capable of doing. But here, I was hoping for a little bit more early game interactivity. I wanted a way to kind of come down and kill a Nilah if that's what happens. You know, Soul Harvest would have been nice, but this works out okay. We don't have to be too worried about these units. We can throw some blocks in front of these so that we shrink the unit a little bit and then get a Quietus. But we'll see if that comes down to relevance. Our boy Kamaverin Soldier's primed and ready to block a Nilah. He said, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, Nilah. I'll block. That's the way he says it, you know. That's the way the Kamaverin Soldier talks. Alright. More opportunity to build up board, though. Feels good. We got this hate spike primed and ready to go. We got the Soul Harvest at home. I dig it. Let's just lead with this. Like, he doesn't want to block with Nilah. And then if he wants to play a burn spell onto the Kamaverin Soldier, it is nice to have access to the kind of hate spike response. He says, nope, I'm going to play Janna. And so I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to play Soul Harvest. So he will get the updraft next turn. It's a little bit scary for our 3 health units. Maybe we just go ahead and hate spike the Nilah away now. I don't want this to fail to the opposing removal spell, right? What we were just talking about, to where wouldn't it be cool if the opponent played a removal spell on our unit and then we just hate spike the unit away? I don't want the reverse to come in and happen to us right here, to where we play a hate spike and then he has the burn spell to get the counter spell onto it. All right, let's lead in with Sultur. He's a reasonable enough block in this space. You know, if he soaks a removal spell, that's kind of cool. Otherwise, we can look to quiet us down the Windborn Mariner. And, you know, I wouldn't mind drawing some cards and stuff. We got a handful of card draw in place here. And Janna turns up. Can't stop her now. We do have the Vengeance in hand. It's a little scary, you know, trying to go after Janna's with things like Soul Harvest, since she can get that +2 attack, draw 2 spell, cast on her, and counter spelled, and that's just a little meh. Kind of curious at this point if we can't just let Janna sit for a bit and then just try and push in for the move into the Hydravine plan. So let's go down that path. I'm going to play this Spirit Leech. I just want to draw a couple of cards here. We can't Soul Harvest Janna now because we need the 3 mana to play Soul Harvest, but I think I'm okay with this. Oh, wow, he just has no plays? Wow. Okay. There's the big ass Hydrovine. Says I'm ready to party. This is the spot that always gets me. You see the Janna on board, just a couple of units in play for the opponent, and then they just draw an extra 3 cards on the turn. Let's see what we can do. We can get our Evelynn down. I would like to start getting some of these Bark Beasts down, but I didn't want the Bark Beast to eat the unit. I wanted Evelynn to get the flip. So probably just be playing 1 here. And then we'll see if things look safe for the Soul Harvest onto Janna.
Lift us up upon your mighty wings, old friend.
Do we even care? What if we just go ahead and attack first? She's not doing anything right now. So if he makes like this gigantic investment into Evelynn, we can still look to Soul Harvest away the Janna, and then we'll still have access to Hydrovine for the next turn. I'm on board with all that.
I sense such joy within you, but also pain.
Well, it still has the same opportunity to fail on either champion, but Nilah is more directly scary at this point. If it comes down to it next turn, if he comes in and does some stuff and flips the Janna, we can still Vengeance Janna off of the board. But if he gets to come in and attack with Nilah next turn, he still gets to do all that bullshit to where she AoEs our team and deals some damage and puts the Slipstream into our deck. And so I think I would prefer to just get Janna off of the board. How did he draw like 8 cards this turn? What did he even play there? Whew, this fucking deck, man. This fucking deck. Let's see how hard he goes for it. I'm gonna play the Bark Beast and then we'll try and Vengeance the Janna off afterwards. There is, you know, a bit of downside to this. There is technically a world to where we can prevent the Janna flip, and so you know, we go to Vengeance Janna. He can still flip her here, right? It's, you know, looks like it's probably going to happen. You would prefer to get the Janna dead before she flips, right? Because this one's gonna die, but then the future Jannas are going to be flipped. But we didn't quite have the stat line to do it. Maybe we should have waited on him to attack, because now it's kind of a bummer if he adds a fresh Janna and then, you know, gets to still come in and attack. Alright, well, I did the mathematics on this. Evelynn and Viego cost 10 mana, so we can get those on the board. I thought she was going to summon something when she came down. I was looking to get the Husk and put the Husk onto Viego, but apparently that's not the way it works.
She waits for me beyond the mist, my queen.
Alright, the elephant coming through. So many cards out of this deck, man. That's insane. They were just drawing a bunch of extra cards on some of those turns. I didn't even know where they were coming from. It's wild how this deck goes. He's back up to five cards in hand with the 2 elemental spells he gets from the Helmsman. A very real chance he's able to kill Viego here. Oh, this deck is insane. You know, if you ever stop to ask yourself, why aren't control decks any good in this format? Look at this. Look at this, right? Yeah. Just exactly it. You get that completely overwhelming board presence, and then your opponent's just like, oh, I forgot to tell you I'm going to draw 19 extra cards this game. You know, I can I can get 2 for 1 like 8 times and still be ahead of you on cards. Just insane how this deck goes.
Guess we're doing this the ugly way. Take a load off.
Alright, well there's no 1 damage cards to worry about, so we'll just go ahead and put the Bark Beast in front of the Mariner. If he survives, great. If he doesn't, I'm not too surprised. Drop the old Hydrovine. Just watch it get smoked by 2 more removal spells here, and then we'll call it a day. Okay. GG. Hey Bust, why do you recommend banning Nilah Janna every time? Huh. Did we watch that game? Did we watch that game? At what point in that game did you say, oh, I bet Bust has got this? And then how many turns later did the opponent just have 7 cards every turn? You know, there was one turn to where you're like, oh man, I bet he's really turned the corner here. That Nilah turn, and then you went into the next one and went, oh, the opponent just drew an extra 5 cards 3 turns in a row. Interesting. Interesting. Well, we'll see what happens. You know, they gotta sell those skins. They gotta keep the lights on at the Riot HQ. Keeping Ruben Zoo's coffers full, making sure there's enough making sure there's enough money to keep the lights on, and so we'll deal with it for another couple months, and then hopefully the nerfs will roll through before the next standard season. So with this, I'm kind of intent on just hanging on to the 2 mana so we can hate spike whenever it's a little bit more appropriate. Also gets us to this kind of point to where, you know, we can play the Surveyor next turn and then pick up the Destroy an Equipment thing. But I don't know if we want to just kind of directly advertise that we have it. It's probably fine. Let's be real, it's probably fine. Where are you at? Destroy an Equipment. If you're not familiar with playing against the Lurk with the Surveyors, you can't you can't quicksand, right? What's this thing called? You can't Explorer's Blunder away Lurk. You can't. I know Lurk's a keyword, but it's not the right kind of keyword, I guess. You can't disable Lurk, but you can disable Overwhelm off of their other units. So let's just pass. We got some time here. I'd like to get some hate spikes and stuff going. We need to use this Soul Harvest, you know, kind of right now. Because the next Lurk he gets is going to be too far away in terms of clearing out any units with it. So I'm going to blow this up. I mean, he wants to Treasure of the Sands Rek'Sai. He has to know that we just picked up the Destroy an Equipment. So I'm very interested in seeing why Rek'Sai just came down. I mean, she does still get to like attack and spread those bonuses out across the deck, but it's very odd to see this be the game plan. So do we want to gain the 2 health, or do we want to go ahead and hate spike this Bakai so that we can get the Husk for next turn? I don't think the 2 health is that particularly important, but I mean, the Bakai isn't a very important unit either. if we can't start getting on board a little bit more here. Important unit to Vengeance down in the Zerzerath. They got to watch these overwhelms. We can block the just kind of unit-based ones over and over and over again, but these overwhelms tend to be a pain point. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the Bark Beast. It's the highest health unit that we have, and that's going to just come in and prevent the most damage that we can. I don't want to risk the Zerzerath hitting this Spell Shield next turn, though, so I'm just going to go ahead and Vengeance it. We do take an extra point of damage this way, but if he goes Spell Shield, he's going to be a lot tougher to deal with. He's a big boy. Little boy with the encroaching miss, big boy with the invasive Hydrovine. So do we want to attack with him? I mean, it should be safe. Ruthless Predator is the only card that causes a little bit of problem here. And it's just tough to have. You know, there's only a limit to how much interactivity you can play in these decks. And, you know, Ruthless Predator's kinda it. He's already playing Buried Armory. And so, you know, how many non-Lurk cards are you really going to play in this kind of scenario? So I think this is fine. The other kind of thing here is we can afford to take a little bit of overwhelm damage here. We're still at 18 and he's only got one unit on the board, so it should be kind of tough for them to really develop into having a lot of big blockers, or big attackers with overwhelm, I should say. Surveyor and Evelynn. I mean, the Surveyor is just the safer play. We could go ahead and use it to pick up a... I'm not worried about any more equipment, but we could use it to go ahead and pick up the Blunder. Give us a little protection for the upcoming turns. Just him, huh? Okay, take him down to 3 health. It still dies to all of our units. And the thing I'm kind of looking at with these is, you know, if we take Overwhelm off of these units, then we can just block it with a 1 health Spirit Leech and not take any damage. So the Spirit Leech should both be a good attack. Not with the Bakai on the board, but good attacks into these Doombreakers. But then it should also give us a little bit of a thing for next turn. We're gonna run out of space on our board though. I don't think we're ever attacking with Evelynn though. We're so close to lethal. What's scary here? Like a pike? Pike isn't big enough to kill a Hydrovine. But it's like, we make this attack. He blocks the Spirit Leech and it's just not enough to finish. Alright, let's get Evelynn on board.
When I allow you.
So it's like we play Evelynn. When we lose out from the Husk on summon, But since she's flipped, we should get the one next turn, right? Round end, summon a husk. I think. Been wrong before. Been wrong before.
I have the tendency to get carried away. Mind if I slip into something a little more painful?
Can we just kill here? We have impact 3, right? 2 on Evelynn, 1 on Hydrovine. If we get 2 units through, like as it stands right now, it's 2 from Domination, 3 from Bark Beast, and then the impacts. The only thing that would get him out of this would be Pike, which I think I'm fine with. If we're killing off a bunch of his units, I think it's okay. He has to pike our small units, right? He can't pike Evelynn. I guess he can probably pike Evelynn at this point, but I think this is fine. Alright, so he's got the blocks lined up on the impact. That's not what we it's not what we were counting on for our damage here. Pike our domination down to 1.
You don't want to keep a girl waiting, do you?
Did we just lose this? Did we just throw this one away? If he has Rek'Sai on top, we have a problem. Maybe we did. Could have just attacked with a few units instead of many units and been ready for the block on this next turn. Maybe that would have been a little bit smarter. Well, let's see. Camaverin Soldier was a super clutch draw. If he plays a unit and then we play the Soldier, it gives us a chance to get out of this. Okay, so I'll add Domination, and then if he has the Rally card, we can still follow up with the Soldier. Alright, how we looking? We're not looking that good, are we? Well, he has to rally to get the kill at this point, right? And we know that he doesn't have it in hand. He just played the thing that puts a bunch of units in your hand, so we should be okay to go ahead and just draw the 2. Since, like, the best he can do is just add another Snapjaw Swarm to the board. Alright, so we made it through that turn. It still doesn't feel great. Still doesn't feel great.
Warm your body, warm your soul. Gonna be a
Alright, now our overwhelming Viego comes through to save the day. I don't feel like we deserve to win this game in any way, shape, or form, but still managed to pull it off at the end of the day.
the dark beckons.
Alright, here come the damages, friends. Oof. Alright. GG. Well played. On to the next one.
All this
see what we can do. We could probably get one more game in. These games tend to run a little bit long, and so we'll see how it goes. You could also see in the background there, I'm looking at Heimerdinger Nora a little bit. As we've come out here and played Janna and been kind of upset about it, we're still kind of in the space to where the problem with like a lot of these decks is you get slower and slower as you just die to set, and the other kind of big breakout deck of the Mastering Runeterra event was the Seraphine set deck, and it's just extremely challenging for these decks to actually beat set, and I'm a little concerned about having to play against them. So it gets you back in this spot to where you want to ban Janna, but you can't ban Janna because you got to ban set. And at the end of the day, if I feel like all of our matchups are fine against scouts, then it might be fine overall, but not hype about it. Not bad. So he spent his gotcha. I'm curious if we're going to be able to hate spike down this Nilah. Quietus is interesting. He seems very inclined to open attack here, though. I don't think we're going to get a chance to respond. But he starts playing pointless cards, and then, sweet. I appreciate that.
I have the tendency to get carried away. Mind if I slip into something?
Alright, so the thing I'm looking to do here, I'd like to just get Evelynn down. That's fine. We get the Husk. We can look to now Quietus Nilah, and then it's like it would be very nice to get an additional stat point onto the Spectral Surveyor. Getting him up to 4 health is a big difference compared to 3, right? Most of the removal spells in the opposing deck deal 2 or 3 damage. They have to really work on that slow hurricane, whatever it's called, to get up to 4. But, oh shit, I forgot about our Evelynn bringing friends in.
Let's keep going.
Good deal. Maybe we will just play the Surveyor. Picking up Elusive is kind of nice as well. So as far as these go, I want to get the Destroy a Landmark. It gives us the chance to blow up the Sunken Temple. Otherwise, you're really just looking at either heal, which we don't need at this point, or you're looking at Quicksand for the Elusives, but we did just hit an Elusive, so I feel pretty safe there.
Fill your lungs and cry, Janna.
I love it when they scream.
Alright, seems okay.
That was hot. Back on the prowl.
Storm unrelenting.
It's too bad you don't cost 5 mana anymore, my friend. Finally out here dropping Vigios on the board, and you gotta pay. You gotta pay the full price.
Wind need not be seen to move our world.
Leap of faith, huh? You'll catch me, right?
Time to eat.
What's he even got to say about this mess? There's something that deeply unsettles me about the young king. That's Viego. He's the king. Something at his heart, a hunger that cannot be satisfied, a desire that goes unfulfilled. Dude just needs a sandwich. Probably not. You're gonna get all. If you want to get all fucking chiseled like Viego, you got to be hungry all the time. That's. You wanna know how you get abs like Viego? You just don't eat as much food. You just got to be hungry all the time. So that's why he's not getting his fulfillment. This is what he desperately wants and needs. Dude's just fucking hungry. Alright, this is fine though. We got plenty of blocks and stuff. Got this hate spike lined up in the back line. I mean, I don't think this hate spike's ever going to be successful. At least as far as this board's concerned, with the opponent having 6 mana and 6 cards in hand, but we'll see if we get to drop it. says, oops, your units have tough. my burn spells aren't enough anymore.
Girl waiting, do you? Be as loud as you like.
What have we got? Challenger for the invasive Hydrovine. It's interesting, like, actually the fearsome in this space and his only blockable unit is the Windborn Mariner. You can almost find a way to get a lethal if we could get the Mariner off the board, but we don't have the mana to add the Hydrovine and add Soul Harvest. Pretty close to that lethal though anyways. We'll have to see what he does. Like, what happens if we... Okay, Janna's ready to block now. I was going to say, what happens if we, say, hook the Mariner out of combat? He can't block Viego, he can't block the Surveyor, and then he only has 3 units on board. I mean, I think we're pretty close to just lethaling this down anyways, but he's going to have blocks on our bigs at this point.
I see my will made manifest.
Janna, your wind makes my burdens lighter.
Rethink your choices.
Your wickedness shall not prosper.
Alright, not a bad turn though. Off-center Viego putting in the work. They did something this patch. I noticed it earlier with Aatrox. Like, I noticed in like the first couple of days of playing, Aatrox would be off-center quite a bit. Now I just saw Viego off-center as well. You've got to remember how the encroaching mist thing works in terms of you can let an encroaching mist like die at the end of the turn, and then you get 2 on the next turn or something weird. I don't entirely remember. It's an important thing to know when you're playing Viego, but again, we didn't play very much of this dumb deck back back when it was a thing. We were just like, I'm gonna ban that deck all the time, and so never really worried about it.
A game. Go on then.
A bit awkward here though. And we can just attack with the W and say we didn't quite have the space on the board to play the domination and get a husk, but at the end of the day we didn't need it. So all right, not bad. Good set of games. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so, you know, I feel like that was a pretty good selection of games. We got to play against Nilah Janna twice. You could see, you know, how these games can go quite reasonably against that deck. We didn't play any of the games to where they just say like, okay, here's Nilah on 2, and then LOL, I just immediately draw a Slipstream and play 2 3-1s, and then the 2-2 to draw 2, and then next turn play Janna, right? We didn't have to play against any of the nut draws, but you could see in that last one, we handled that one, you know, pretty reasonably, pretty easily. In the other Nilah Janna game, that was our loss, we did manage to get complete control of the board, and then it devolved into one of those Nilah games to where they just draw 15 cards out of nowhere, and you can't do anything about it in terms of control decks like this. And so, you know, if that's the kind of like mindset I have with this, is if we have to play against a lineup that has both Seraphine, Set, and Nilah in it, you can't just ban out Set. We're never beating Set with this deck. Then that's, you know, kind of an option. I'm just curious how much that kind of thing's going to pop up. And then the other kind of question is, like, how strong are we against, say, like, Scouts and Jax Ornn and the mid-rangey decks of the format, which we're actually here trying to beat, right? I've just been talking about kind of the bad matchups and surviving those. The ones that we're actually trying to be good in, how good can those actually be? You know, I think it's fine. We're playing against things like Aatrox Kayn and Aatrox Vayne and any deck with Vayne in it, any deck with Demacia in it. Like, I feel like those matchups are all you know, pretty reasonably winnable. It's when you get into that space of having to deal with like the bigger units out of Freylord can cause some problems, and Darius Nar can just be like, "Oops, I got you with the Battle Fury," and you know, you didn't have your vengeance, and I had my Battle Fury, and so the game is over. In that sense, like you can get blown up in a lot of those, but the matchups aren't completely horrible, and so. You know, I like it. I like a lot of the ideas going on here. I think that this deck might have some potential in best of three, even though I don't really recommend it in the ladder right now. If you're in that space to where the most popular deck is Nilah Janna, which is going to be a suboptimal matchup. The next most popular deck is Ashe LeBlanc, which is horrifically bad. Then once you get kind of away from those two, things get a little bit better and a little bit brighter. And so I don't recommend this for the ladder unless you really just want to play with the Soul Fighters. But as far as best of three, I think that this is something that you have to keep in mind. And so, nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope we maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bustin. We thank you for being here.